When we look at people out there, especially ones that are on the street, we say things like, look at them, look what they've done to themselves. But what if we said, look at us? Look what we've done to us. Something as simple as changing language can prompt our attitudes to follow. I really believe that. I do.
Empathy, understanding, acceptance, love with no conditions, and the lack thereof. All of the above has led me to this. Just imagine, in that order, if within each one of us these four things would naturally exist. Would there be a persistent battle trying to have our misheard voices accurately heard, instead of our vision being blurred by denial, ignorance, and avoidance? As a result, saving lives is deferred. Unfortunately, the loudest voices dominate, but are the weakest ones, blindly preying on the meek, constantly passing judgment, saying these people are weak, they chose this life, they're lazy, and what we really need is to rid them from our streets. And why is their Narcan free when my medication's not? They don't even have a disease. Whether it's a disease or not a disease, all I ask is just please, shut the fuck up. You make them the enemy when you don't know the first thing about their struggle. These one-sided thoughts only exist in the heads of those who are on the outside looking in while they're looking out of their own safe little bubble. Love will conquer it all, but can't exist if we don't understand each other and feel each other's pain, instead of placing blame on each other for the very same. You much rather argue to prove your righteousness and won't fight unless your ego is fed, and you're victorious and won't stop until you're dead. Your point is proven or someone gives up. Meanwhile, the ones who struggle are dying anyway. Congratulations on having a better argument that falsely makes it more evident than what you have to say from your point of view is right. Lack of understanding is poisonous. I read something just the other day. It was a Facebook post. Fentanyl crisis kills 20. A person commented, laugh out loud. There's never too many. Let it take them out. It's natural selection. Why does lack of understanding so often turn to hatred? That's my question. To me, that's the disease, the sickness. That's a brain filled with a fatal infection. Toxic words spoken blindly, spewing out their perception of perfection. Their only connection is to a life in a big house, nice car, hiding behind their pretentious happiness, and probably hitting the bar just as much as the man they're judging is putting a needle in his arm. I'm alarmed by the ignorance that can be so easily diluted. This convoluted mess that is this world is so easy to get caught up in, just like I was caught up in my own head one night not long ago. A man needed a voice, and he was ignored because I got caught up in that very same noise as I led him to that door. Hypocrisy at its finest. I'm guilty. Some things were thrown in my path weeks before, and I got distracted. And I almost acted out in a way that hasn't been me for many, many years. But it goes to show how easily darkness can consume you. No matter how hard you try to spread love, the demons in the shadows can ruin you, as it almost did me. Their trickery and deception takes its grasp, and soon you stand looking at the past in the mirror, and that mask conceals your face once again. It's that easy. I couldn't let go of those distractions that were pushing me off my path, and the last thing I ever thought I would do was turn my back on what matters. I was just doing my job. Wasn't a good enough excuse for the abuse he endured that night. Kicking him out was my focus, but shouldn't have been my fight when all he did was ask for help. His words echoed and weren't deciphered when I looked at him instead of in him. He begged me to hear him, but I let him down when I said, I can't help you unless you buy something. You have to leave. But look, he said, as he showed me the fresh blood gathering below his sleeve. As I rocked around the corner, ignoring his every plea, I directed him to the door. I said again, my man, you have to leave. That's when the mockery started. You're garbage. Go back to the street. You don't belong. The patrons and angry mob screamed at him. The walk to the door became extra long. They yelled at him, you're nothing. He yelled back, I'm not nothing. I'm not nothing. A double negative which made him everything and the only thing that should have mattered to me that night. Those people damn near spit at him, forcing him to suppress the little fight he had left, all because they just don't understand. I should have offered him my hand, but I cowered away. He turned to me with one last thing to say. Fuck you. You're a scumbag, don't you see? Fuck you. But I heard, help me, help me. I couldn't be who I was in that moment because I denied it. I turned to the crowd to search for someone I can confide in. Then something died in me as the door slammed, and all I found was toxic praise saying, I'm the man, because I tossed out what they thought was trash. I was on the wrong side of the fence that night. Again, it's that easy. In the days that followed, I wallowed in the distractions, the same ones that instrumentally led to the lack of action I took that night. The intensity of my moral depravity heightened, and the fight in me to be the enlightened me was losing. Connections were seizing, anger and hatred were increasing. I rapidly returned to the dark as the demon that was leasing my body for so many years moved back in. I was going to deal with those distractions I speak of that infiltrated my life before that night the best way I knew how, in the worst way possible. With that decision, in that moment, I reached a line that I thought was no longer crossable. All I've been building within the man I was becoming was gone. At least, that's what I thought. I paced that mall back and forth till I found a spot and I had to stop. Lost in dark thought, I put my hood up, head down, as if my answers were sprawled out on the ground. I felt nothing but an anger that was like a cancer. That's when I heard his voice, and that's when I got my answer. Excuse me, can you spare any change? My thought process changed. My head darted to the side, ready to curse. Then I saw him, the man from the other night, and at first, he didn't know who I was till I removed my hood. As he stood squinting, recognition started to form on his face. His hopeful eyes that were bearing just a little bit of faith turned to fear, and he darted away, carrying his shame. I yelled after him to stop. I needed to know his name. I needed him to know that he wasn't to blame for what happened, and I never imagined I was capable of treating him as I did. As I processed this, all the inner darkness was released. I got up, and when I caught up, I asked, what exactly do you need? He spread his arms. I can hardly walk. As I looked down at his feet, I noticed his soaking, wet shoes. Empathy, understanding, acceptance, love, it all returned, and his shoes were my redemption. There was an ascension in his spirit as I hugged him, and then we both parted ways. While he walked away with brand new, dry shoes, it was him who brought me back. It was him who was the hero that day. But he didn't save me. He saved us. In the end, all we have is us. Instead of ignoring each other, judging each other, and not hearing each other, keeping face for the people who do all of the above and measuring each other's pain, let's gather all our broken pieces together and accept that we are all the same. This gift, we can't waste it. Let's embrace it, take it, and make it a mosaic. Even when the ignorant pick their poison and verbally spray it, we can say it. We can finally say it. This is us. There will always be us.